I like your tattoos. What are those numbers on your arm?
Oh, that's the date my dad died. He was a fireman. Died in a fire 17 years ago.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Don't be. It's fine.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Not your dad.
Well, The King of Staten Island, new movie opening this week on video on demand and digital platforms, may not be the Pete Davidson story completely, but it's pretty close. It's inspired by his own life. Now, Pete Davidson, of course, very well known from his appearances weekly on Saturday Night Live, where he became an overnight star, no question about it, in the last few years. Has been a stalwart of that show. Has appeared in some movies, of course, stand-up comedy is his forte. But the reason The King of Staten Island resonates in his own life is he's co-written the screenplay here. With this screenplay, he's telling his own story in some form. He plays a fictionalized version of himself, a guy by the name of Scott Carlin. He's in his 20s. He still hasn't left home. He's a bit of a slacker, sits around smoking weed a lot with his buddies and getting into some trouble here and there. No real ambition except his dream to be a tattoo artist one day. He lives there with his mother. His mother is played by Marissa Tomei, and she's a good soul. She really is, and clearly loves her son. This was a tragedy that they suffered in real life. His father was among those who died on September 11, 2001. He was a fireman who entered that World Trade Center and never got out. Tragic story for Pete Davidson. And also mirroring that here in this fictionalized account of his life, he plays a young man whose father also was lost on the job as a fireman. Nevertheless, Davidson has taken upon himself as a executive producer, as a star of this film, as a co-writer of this film, to bring some semblance of his own life to the screen. In some ways, it reminded me of a recent film I reviewed, also on VOD, called Big Time Adolescence. It played Sundance in 2019. This one is a much more serious movie. In fact, it is a comedy, but you'd almost want to call it a dramedy here, because it goes in different places and it goes to great depths.
He's 24 years old, Marjorie. Let that fucking bird fly, please.
Don't worry, Mom. I know your daughter got smart and went to college and abandoned us. But I'm still here. I'm gonna be here forever.
Yeah.
It's no surprise because it comes from director Judd Apatow. Judd Apatow, of course, some of the best comedies in recent years. Trainwreck, 40-Year-Old Virgin, This Is 40, I thought was a terrific film. On and on and on. He's a very sharp director and writer, and he's co-written this screenplay here and given it some real emotional heft, a real story behind it to add to the comedy that Davidson is most inclined to do. Nevertheless, he's a guy who lives at home in Staten Island here. His mother, played by Marissa Tomei, is terrific here in the movie. She takes up with a man for the first time since the death of his father, and he's just not comfortable with this. All those years have passed. This has never happened before. And lo and behold, that guy happens to be a fireman himself. This doesn't go down well with Scott at all. Now, he's played by Bill Burr, a terrific stand-up comic in his own life, and he's funny. They have a kind of first scene where they meet where he comes to the door and complains loudly to Scott's mother that Scott has been teaching his own kid some bad habits here, and all Scott wanted to do was befriend this young kid here, but his father got very mad. Well, who knew? That would lead to a relationship with the mother and a kind of a rivalry between the pair that is played out here.
You make everyone around you feel crazy. People are normal, then they hang out with you, and then they're fucking Jack Nicholson in The Shining or something.
I gotta tell my mom you tried to drown me. It's an above ground pool. You're like fucking 8 feet tall.
That's fun stuff to watch here, and the acting is just terrific all the way around. I also loved all three of Scott's buddies here. Oscar is played by Nikki Velez, Igor played by Moses Arias, and Richie by Lou Wilson. They're quite a quartet here as they go around town. The one scene I didn't love here is when they go out and rob a store. I thought it got a little too contrived maybe for this story. It seemed to lose a sense of the tone that was established established in the rest of the film, but that's just a minor quibble here because this is really a terrific movie. Now, Scott also has a longtime girlfriend here that nobody knows he has. He sort of hooks up with her secretly. Is a friend all the way back to elementary school, and that would be Kelsey, and she is played by Bill Powley.
But what are you gonna do? Are you gonna get a job, or are you gonna leave the house?
I'm gonna open that tattoo restaurant.
No, like for real.
It's never been done before. I looked it up.
And she's always terrific. This is an actress that's really going places, believe me, folks. This whole cast is terrific in this movie. There's also great smaller roles here for Steve Buscemi. Also, Pamela Adlon of the television show Better Things. She plays the new boyfriend of Marissa Tomei's character. She plays the ex-wife. She's a hoot here. In cahoots here a little bit with Scott. It's fun stuff. This movie is a triumph, and boy, do we need this now, this kind of movie. It is the perfect way to start off the summer. This is a fresh and funny, smart and winning human comedy full of life that is a must-see, I think, for certainly if you're a fan of Judd Apatow, and certainly if you're a fan of Pete Davidson, who proves himself to be as natural on the big screen as he is on television. No question about it. He's got a future too if he wants it. This movie will shine a light on this really talented performer. I think it's something you're going to like and want to see. So, Universal releases this on video on demand. It was meant for theaters, but because of the COVID-19 lockdowns, they are going out to homes. More people are going to be seeing it this way. So for the King of Staten Island, I say, watch.